Yes. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Veterans Minimum. I'm your host, Nick Deus. At Nick Deus10 is where you can find me. VeteransMinimum.com is where you can find all things VM, including the Patreon to support the show. We got Nick Chavez, Ben Kotzian, Christopher Villasquez. He had to check me on the pronunciation of his name because I've been saying it wrong all this time. Derek Platees, Devin Rendon, Jordan Riley, Mike Wozniak, Nick Crumrich, Thomas Robinson. Thank you all for your contributions to the Patreon. We are at 61 patrons. If by the end of the year we could get to 75, that'd be super dope. We got $1, $5, $10, $20, and $40 tiers and certain perks and incentives based on the tier that you get. And you just get a shout out on the show if you join the Patreon, regardless of the tier that you're in. Alan is going to be joining me shortly on this episode of VM. He is running a little late. I also think he might be just a little hungover already because Croatia sweated out another one in PKs. Alan is our native Croatian. He is Croatian, so he's our Croatian expert. And with the World Cup, they advanced to the quarterfinals. We'll talk some World Cup to end the show. But I do have some questions from the members of the Patreon in the Discord that I wanted to get to before we get Alan, and then my rant on Jimmy G. Rune says the Broncos suck, and that also has to do with the Cots. Piggybacking off this, Nathaniel Hackett is almost guaranteed to be fired, giving the abysmal showings they've had this season. Yeah, man, so the thing about Denver that's really interesting is one of my favorite bets in Week 13 was Denver catching 9.5 points. And the reason why is because everybody that I asked about that game, they were playing the Ravens. They all told me that I was crazy to take Denver. And they were all telling me that Denver sucks. No one likes Russ. They didn't go to his birthday party. A lot of that, like that movie Draft Day, where the main quarterback in that movie, if you guys haven't seen it, the deciding factor in his draft stock was that his teammates didn't go to his draft party. So there were a lot of similarities there. And then also that Nathaniel Hackett sucks. But the way you look at it is in sports betting, there's a term when it comes to teams catching a lot of points, and it's points being at a premium when you have a low total. So the Broncos were 9.5 point underdogs going into Baltimore, and the over-under in that game was 40 points. Catching 9.5 points as a dog with that good, or should I say elite defense, and you're catching 9.5 points against a team in Baltimore who has lost their number one wide receiver. They've lost their running backs. Lamar came into the day hobbled. He ends up leaving with injury. We'll get to that in just a sec. And the Ravens having their flaws as well. That's a lot of points. And throughout the entire game, even prior to Lamar Jackson going down, if you had the 9.5 for Denver, you were not sweating that one out. Yeah, Denver ends up losing the game, so that's why this conversation is happening with the Denver Broncos. But it's unfortunate because despite them trading away Bradley Chubb, they still have a top 3 defense in the NFL. I would say it's them, San Francisco, and the Cowboys, in no particular order, but those are the 3, in my opinion, unanimous best defenses in the league. And I think you're going to see a few coaches that are going to be fired after this season. Whatever happens with Kingsbury is going to be interesting if they do make a run, which I don't think so, but I could see him being shown the door. You're going to have someone step in Carolina as a new head coach. Who knows what's going to happen, the fallout of Nathaniel Hackett, which I think he ultimately might go as well. And depending on how it ends with Dan Campbell in Detroit, that one might be a reach because the guys do play well for him and they play hard for him. They haven't given up on Dan Campbell, but also it's a what have you done for me kind of league. So you do need Detroit to maybe make up some ground and be a potential playoff team or come close to it in order for him to keep his job. But I do think that the Broncos are just, I don't think Russ is as bad as he's shown to be because they do have weapons, but I think a lot of it is going to fall on the head coach because the head coach is more replaceable than a dude you just guaranteed $150+ million to over the next couple of seasons. So I do think the scapegoat here is going to be Nathaniel Hackett. And then the other conversation that we need to have is from Bernsey. Green Bay is too inconsistent and not someone I could definitely say is making the playoffs as they struggle to beat a terrible Bears team. Look, man, that game was interesting. I think Justin Fields right now might be the most exciting quarterback in the NFL that doesn't get the attention that he deserves. the Bears next season are going to have probably 6 or 7 primetime games solely because of Justin Fields. And I think the Bears are going to be a team that you should definitely take serious next year. They have the most cap space in the NFL. I think it's north of $100 million, I think it's spent in free agency. You got the answer to the question, which was whether or not Justin Fields was going to be a guy who you could continue to build on. And you're going to have some draft assets as well in order for you to be able to build off that if you're the Chicago Bears. But as far as Green Bay goes, dude, Christian Watson, man, we were off the bandwagon for Christian Watson, but is there anyone playing wide receiver better than him that's a rookie right now? Maybe Garrett Wilson, but this dude leads the NFL in touchdowns in the last 5 weeks, and that includes Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Travis Kelce, and he's finally coming into his own. And we have to remember that these dudes are all 21, 22 years old. And for as gifted as they are, it does take some time for you to get acclimated with the speed in the NFL. And he had the dropsies early on, and Aaron Rodgers was not trusting him. But now you're seeing that there is trust for Aaron Rodgers. He ends up scoring another touchdown yesterday, and he's becoming that guy that they thought he was going to be when they drafted him. Before Alan joins us, and he is setting up right now as he just texted me, I do want to talk a little bit about Jimmy G and the San Francisco 49ers. I feel bad for the dude, for as handsome as he might be, and I know a lot of people would wish that they had his looks. Handsome fella, Jimmy GQ. His career has been really interesting in the NFL if you look at it. So he gets drafted by the Patriots, and he's supposed to be the heir apparent for Tom Brady. And eventually he's going to be the guy to replace Brady. And then Brady just keeps winning in New England. And Brady is telling the organization, yo, I'm not going anywhere. So you guys got to get rid of this dude, try to get an asset. And that's what they did. They traded him to San Francisco. And when he goes to San Francisco, he comes out the gates, wins all those games when he first gets there. Impy and I, we had done the San Francisco bandwagon bet. If you guys remember listening to D-Generation Bets way back in the day, we money lined every game that he was starting when he first got there. And for as much heat as he was getting and continues to get, Jimmy G is a winner. We've been very outspoken about how, yeah, it might not look pretty, it might not always be flashy or good, but you look at his record with Kyle Shanahan, and I should say Kyle Shanahan's record with Jimmy G in the lineup and then without, it's significant. Like, dude wins like close to 70% of his games. And he's gotten you to a Super Bowl. He's gotten you to a conference championship game in which you were leading by double digits in the fourth quarter. And then Cooper Kupp goes absolutely ape shit and obliterates your secondary. That's why you end up losing that game in the NFC title game. But I think the thing about Jimmy G that's so unfortunate is this dude, he's had so many ups and downs. If he hits Emmanuel Sanders on that last play where he overthrows him by a yard maybe, we're looking at Jimmy G's career completely different. San Francisco doesn't go and trade up all those assets to get Trey Lance, which brings me to the Trey Lance conversation, because then this year it's Jimmy G, you just took us to the NFC title game, bro. Thank you very much, but we're going to go to Trey Lance. And he was being a hell of a teammate. He did what he could for him. And then Trey Lance goes down, and now we're back to square one with Jimmy G being the quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. And then he gets hurt. And it sucks because they got Christian McCaffrey a couple weeks ago, and they were everyone's sort of NFC winner, like the unspoken winner, though Philly has been playing really well this season and then the top seed, and Minnesota is winning all these games, one score, and Dallas is creeping. They're getting better and better every week. San Francisco was a team that no one wanted to play because for as flawed as Jimmy G is and was prior to this injury, that now he's going to miss the rest of the season. You have Kittle, Ayuk, you have CMC, you have Debo, you have the running game, you have Kyle Shanahan calling all the plays, and the defense, like we were talking about before with Denver, probably the best defense in the NFL. And then dude breaks his leg yesterday, so he's out for the rest of the season. And it's so unfortunate for Jimmy G and the career arc for him, because I don't think he comes back to San Francisco. I think this is the last season we would see him in San Francisco. And he's going to be a guy who might be a hot commodity if you're a team like the Jets or the Giants. Getting a guy like Jimmy G could do a lot for your organization. But I think Jimmy G now, it's so unfortunate because not only was this the best team that he was going to be on and had a chance to win the Super Bowl, now if you're someone like me who invested in the San Francisco 49ers, or someone that likes the San Francisco 49ers to be a Super Bowl contender, I think you have to sort of lessen those expectations a little bit, because for as good as Purdy looked as he stepped in, you got to remember this is a third-string quarterback, is a rookie quarterback. And yeah, Fred Warner came out and he kind of vouched for him and said, look, man, he practices every week against the best defense in the league. It's different because he came in relief and he played really well yesterday for the Niners, won him that game. And as someone who, one of my favorite bets in week 13 was San Francisco -3.5, he covered the game for us. But we do need to tamper expectations on Purdy because he is a rookie. You're going to get more tape on him. So some of the things that he does really well, they'll be able to negate that. And then some of the things that he does poorly, teams will be able to exploit that. So it's just, I've always been a Jimmy G guy. I always felt like he was severely criticized. All he did was win. All he did was put you in a position to win. Yeah, when he would take the field against guys like Mahomes and Josh Allen and Joe Burrows of the world, there'd be levels to this. But for the most part, it was so unfortunate what happened to Jimmy G and for the San Francisco 49ers.
Hey.
Let's go. Croatia's finest in the building. Well, not in the building, but on the cam. What up, baby?
What a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day alive. Be Coach Joey Diaz. It's a beautiful day to be alive, folks. It's a wonderful day.
How
I was in the office like this.
Listen, scale of 1 to 10. How like drunk are you right now?
No, not too bad. Dude, I had to work afterwards.
So what?
I'm getting drunk after this though. Monday's a very busy day. We got audio coming in. Bill Belichick, Pat Mahomes. You know, I got to work on these things. I'm a professional, but nevertheless, oh man, it feels like 2018 all over again. Boy, I'm buzzing.
Yo, man, dude, that goalie though. How many penalty kicks did he save? 3?
3.
Holy
and because you watch the FIFA series, that's the same goalie that Luka Modric told him, "You're not playing at the level. You have to do better." Like Modric gave him that pep talk. That's the goalie, which I can't believe everything just comes full circle.
Damn, dude. That was a good series on Netflix. If you guys haven't watched that, it's still pretty relevant. It's called Captains on Netflix. And they spotlight, I believe it's 8 different teams. And some that made the World Cup, some that didn't. They showcase certain countries that I personally didn't even know existed, Alan. And
Vanuatu. What's the one, such a V? I think I'm butchering it. Vanuatu?
Like the Vanuatu Islands, I think it was?
Yeah, Vanuatu. They were there. I think they got kicked because of COVID. They couldn't qualify. Yeah.
Yeah, bro. That was wild. But yeah, there's a scene there where Modric pulls him aside and he goes, dude, we're going to like need you one day. And being like the grizzled vet, we need you to play better. And Croatia sneaks through. And I think that's a cool way to start this conversation, Alan, about the World Cup. We'll get to Team USA in a little bit. But so far, we're recording this prior to the last day of the knockout stages. So we still have Morocco and Spain. We still have Portugal and the Swiss going. But, Alan.
Great matchups, by the way. I think that's the best 2-game slate out of these 4.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I'd agree with you because I could see it's the only 2-day slate where no winner would surprise me.
Agreed.
And so far, through the first 6, the chalk has hit. And what I mean by that is, yeah, it was stressful for Croatia. It was stressful, without a doubt. But coming in, like you're looking at all 6 teams that advance, we're minus 250 favorites to advance or more. And for the most part, outside of Croatia, every other team was in complete control, start to finish, of their games.
Yeah, which I know kind of stings a little bit, but we'll get to that. I know we'll get to USA.
No, I say we get to it right now. I say we get to it right now.
Okay, fine. So we'll get to the good vibes afterwards. But USA, do you think what hurts the most is just the fact that all 3 goals conceded were like
the same?
Very deflated. Yeah, not just the same, but they were both just could have been prevented.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, right? All of the goals came after either USA seized some momentum or were dominating in the game, right? Like Pulisic has that chance 2 or 3 minutes in, which completely changes the entire complexion of that game. But USA in the first half, 60-40 possession, dominating. And they give up that goal to Memphis, who you saw him do the AB thing. And then he said, they love me in the States, put that shit on. And AB shouted him out. I mean, AB shouting out
I,
anyone
yeah,
nowadays.
yeah, I don't think this is a good thing to publicize at the moment.
Yeah. I think Memphis is a little out of touch with what's happening with Antonio Brown here in the States.
Yeah.
But shout out to the Netherlands, though, before we get back to this game. The level of trolling that they've displayed since, as someone that loves trolling and I embrace it. I mean, they did a picture on a yacht and a boat playing Uno, and it's synonymous to like Odell and the Giants. They did the trolling with AB and Memphis Depay. He posted Charles Barkley saying "all bark, no bite" because Charles Barkley was on NBA Tonight, TNT on NBA on TNT, excuse me, and Memphis. I mean, dude, the biggest takeaway of that game is when you get to this level of the World Cup, when you have world-class players like Memphis and Van Dyke, you're gonna probably win that game when those guys show up the way they did. They had 4 quality chances. They scored 3 of them. And did the U.S. miss the scouting report on Van Dyke being the best center back in the world? Like, why are we playing these long ball crosses into the box when he's clearly cleaning up everything in the air? And it was just poor. It was poor execution by the U.S. team, and I was very disappointed. Despite me thinking that they played well, I expected more from them.
They also missed the scout report and Denzel Dumfries. Like, how did they not close him down? We're talking about one of the more electrifying right backs in the world. And Louis Van Gaal talked about like they were going to attack US on the flanks with him. And say we want about Daley Blind being old, but he's still lethal when it comes to that left foot of his. So it just seems like the flanks, and then it's unfortunate. Like USA's midfield, I think has been one of the best midfields of the tournament. But I thought all 3 players were all letdowns. Musso got dispossessed a lot. Adams didn't really have a huge influence. I thought McKinney in general kind of had a meh tournament. So the fact that midfield really couldn't get going, I think that just kind of decimated their chances. Because the thing with the Netherlands, like they had 3 colossal center backs. Like you're not going to break them down through crossing. Like they had one moment USA where I think it was Ake who had a clearance straight to Timothy Weah, and Weah put a shot on target, which was nice. But USA, they really need that first goal, which makes that Pulisic miss hurt even more. Because initially I thought it was clearly offsides, and then you watch the replay, I'm like, oh, he is way on. And I think not getting that goal in the second minute, look, it's knockout stage. You have to capitalize on mistakes. Otherwise, playing from behind, it's going to be a long effort back.
When they were showing the replay, dude, I was praying to all the soccer gods that he was offsides so I could feel better
So it
about
hurt a
that
lot
miss.
less.
Yeah, because I'm like, you know what, man? He missed that because he knew he was offsides. But then when you see, you're like, oh, just so gutted, man. So gutted. Because you get an early goal like that, it changes the entire dynamic of the game. I do want to stay with the U.S. a little bit. Berhalter out, right? Like, there's no way he could come back from
Oh,
this.
wow. Damn, that's strong, really. I did not expect that.
So I also think that you can't be a manager for 2 World Cup cycles. I just think it's not possible. I think there are rare situations where that could happen, but especially when you had the heat coming in with Berhalter, and yeah, you make it out the group stage, which, dude, by now, like this idea that, oh, we make it out the group, it's awesome. It's like, yo, that should be the standard now. It should be expected that you make it out the group. All these other teams, they don't celebrate and shut down things because they make it out the group. Like that's the least of your worries should be to make it out the group if you want to be taken seriously. And I think Berhalter is going to get a lot of heat for the center forward situation that they had. They weren't able to solve at any point throughout the tournament. The Gio Reyna stuff is going to get criticized. Aronson not playing as much as he should have. And I also think, like, dude, anytime Shaq Moore came on the field, Allen, at right back, it looked like the moment was too big for him. Felt the same way about Haji Wright, which was hilarious because on Twitter I was like, yo, we're throwing in the towel that they subbed in Haji Wright. And then 10 minutes later, he scores the 2-1 goal. And it's like, yo, yes, air me out and tell me this is a clown take or that didn't age well. I'll live with it if that's the case. But I think Berhalter...
Didn't you think that was a fluky finish? Oh, that was a fluky finish.
It was, yeah.
I didn't think that was...
Yeah, I don't think it was planned.
Look at 5 minutes ago. He has a clear shot on goal. Then he takes an extra touch, and it's a heavy touch, and then he wastes the opportunity. Like, it's stuff like that. I thought Haji Wright was a total liability this whole tournament.
Okay, so that play right there is the difference between American soccer and you being an elite soccer player all over the world. Because that first touch, and I get it, it's the cream of the crop, but like Brazilian players take a cleaner touch, Argentinian, Portuguese, the Spanish, the French.
Yeah.
That touch right there, that's the difference between getting bounced in the knockout stage and, dude, if he takes a good chance, if he takes a good touch there, that's a goal. Like that's
Yeah, it's 2-1.
it's 2-1 there, and you seize momentum. But you take that huge ass touch and you're running behind the ball, and then you're playing catch up, and then what happens happens. But that right there, a player's first touch is so crucial for moments like that. And if you go back and watch, if you look at any of these forwards, Murata scored a goal on the first touch, like beautiful, just playing it through. And these guys, all that first touch, it sets you up. And when you take a hard touch like that, it just kind of buries you. And I think what happens with the U.S. team moving forward, I do think that they're going to go a new direction with the manager, because I think he's had a lot of flaws and a lot of questionable decisions where the lineup that he put out to start the game, it's like, dude, I feel so bad for Ferreira because it has nothing to do with him as a player, but man, you can't put a guy out there that hasn't played in any of the World Cup games in a do or die situation, cold turkey, and be like, now you got to perform.
Right.
I think that's asking a
that
lot.
makes sense.
Yeah, and it sucks that Sargent got hurt in that game against Iran, because I think he would have been in there. But
Yeah,
man,
he's a useful contributor.
yeah, and he played well against Iran. But like, dude, put Haji right in at least from the start in that point, because at least he's played in the World Cup. Even though it wasn't going to get me excited, but getting a guy completely off the bench that hasn't played at all, it's like, yo, it's similar to when they'll do this shit in the NBA, and it drives me crazy. It happened with the Knicks a couple years ago in the playoffs against Trae Young. Frank Ntilikina didn't play the entire game, and they put him out there with 30 seconds left to guard Trae Young in a crucial situation.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, what do you think was going to happen? He got crossed over, and Trae Young took it to the cup. It's like, yeah, no shit that was going to happen, bro. This guy hasn't played for 47 and a half minutes, and now you want him out there and be like, yo, you know what? This is the biggest defensive stop of the game. We need you to perform. It's like, yo, can I get like a sweat? Can I, like stretch out a bit or something? Now you want me to go and perform in this high pressure situation? It's like, yeah, that's why the moment looks so bad for Ferreira. And again, it sucks because it had nothing to do with him as a player. I actually like him as a player, but it's the idea of you haven't played at all this tournament, and now you're in this spot. Alan, I feel like that's a lot of pressure for that dude.
Yeah, they didn't step up in a place to succeed, especially against that Dutch defense, which I'm interested to see how Argentina tries to break them down. Obviously, Argentina has incredible technicians. Obviously, with Messi, I think Julian Alvarez has become one of the rising stars of the tournament. So that's a really fascinating matchup. But look, Netherlands are going to make it ugly. I just didn't expect them to be like they're passing transitions, and it's the way they were splitting the field. Like I knew they had talented, obviously skillful players, but like you look at that first goal, it was like a 7-pass sequence, bang, goal. Like I was blown away at how well they were in possession, because I thought they looked awful against Ecuador. That was the only real Netherlands game I watched all the tournament. And I don't know, they're another team that doesn't really have a clear goal scorer, even though Memphis is kind of like that. But I'm talking about like a proper number 9, which a lot of these teams have. And then with the USA, I think going 4 years from now, I think obviously number 9 is the biggest priority, but I think they need more skillful center backs. I love me some Tim Ream, but he's not necessarily someone that is that great as a distributor. I think Zimmerman's very limited. I think if USA could get a couple of more solid center backs and striker, I think they could really pose a threat, because I think the roster for the most part is pretty much set. Like they have so many players under 25. So I'd be hopeful. If you obviously know way more than me when it comes to the manager. I don't know him all that well. I think it's embarrassing. He's dressed up like he's about to record a podcast, or he's going to go to Whole Foods rather than managing a game. You see all these suits: Louis Van Gaal, Zlatko Dalic, Didier Deschamps, Gareth Southgate, dressed like proper managers. This guy's dressed up like he's going to Whole Foods. Like, come on, man. So that's I have to. Sorry, I just think it's ridiculous. Come on, man. You're coaching a World Cup knockout stage, right? Get it together. But look, I think there's still a lot to be hopeful about, but I understand why it was deflating, because all 3 goals, it was just like poor defending rather than, yeah, there were moments of brilliance, but just like, can you just close them down? Like Dest, I thought Dest played well, but that second goal, it's like, one more step.
Dest played well, and Dest wanted that game too. For those that don't know, he had a choice between the Netherlands and the U.S. He wanted to play for the Netherlands. They didn't want him, and then the U.S. embraced him with open arms. Same thing happened with Musa in England as well. That was another guy who could have played for England also. And look, man, Berhalter, I kind of liked it because I'm a sneakerhead, and they were always showing like his drip on the
Oh,
sideline, so he was pulling up with
the
pretty,
cements, right?
yeah, some pretty sweet Jordans that I always take L's on the sneaker app. So shout out to Berhalter and his sneaker game. But you're right, all the managers are like clean cut, kind of suit and tie, very professional
Except
looking.
Senegal, but salute to Senegal.
Hey man, they were definitely a vibe though. They were definitely a vibe, and I think the thing with the U.S. They asked Berhalter what was the difference, and he's like, "We don't have a guy scoring goals in the Champions League like Memphis," which it's a shot to your team, but it's also the truth. So is that a bad thing?
I think there's validity behind it. I don't know if you want to say it publicly, but yeah, they don't have a true goal scorer. It also we even mentioned like Pulisic, terrible. Had great tournament, but terrible time to have your worst game of the tournament. Some of the crosses he's putting in, it just seemed like every foul ball Pulisic just was not there, and he hasn't been playing consistently for Chelsea. So there's validity to that statement. It's just probably the timing was going to get to a lot of the Americans.
You should definitely feel optimistic moving forward. I do for sure. I would like to see them in like a Copa America. I think that'd be pretty cool to play against some of the better competition. Because, dude, if you win the Gold Cup, it's like, congrats.
Yeah, because
Like,
Mexico's on downhill and Canada's cool, but I think we know Canada's limitations.
but
So.
still, it's like one of those three are gonna win it, right? Where
Mhm.
like in the Copa America, you've seen Chile win it recently. You've seen Uruguay make a run. You got Argentina, you got Brazil, you got Colombia. You got the hostile environments of going into like a Bolivia or Venezuela. Like you're just playing
Peru.
Peru, yeah, Paraguay, which I didn't even mention. Like you're going and you're playing higher level of competition, and it's a tournament that kind of matters. It's like the
Absolutely.
Euro Cup. Like if you win the Copa
Mhm.
America, it's a prestigious thing. Like bro, the U.S. has won so many Gold Cups, and it's like no one really cares. It's not doing
Yeah,
much.
it's a cool moment. Like we watched it, it was cool. Like it was exciting, but it wasn't anything that like you're gonna have a parade for. It's just more like, all right, this is a good step for progression. But, like I compare the Gold Cup kind of like to the Nations League for Europe, and I love the Nations League. But then again, like no one's really going to be glorifying Nations League. Oh, this is some huge achievement. It's more like, all right, this is a cool way for international teams to stay competitive and see how they could build a roster for the upcoming major tournament.
Is there anything that surprised you in the knockout stages?
Um, I just how competitive Australia was.
Yeah.
Definitely didn't see that coming. Salute to them. I thought they were one of the worst teams coming into the tournament. Wow, so resilient. And like they have no players in the top 5 leagues. Like they're just a bunch of championship Scottish players. And here they are competing. And I thought they created some good chances. That left back, Benic, had like this run that I thought could have been one of the goals of the tournament.
Dude,
But Lisandro
yeah.
Martinez with this last ditch tackle. Lisandro Martinez, who's like 5'7", somehow a tremendous center back. Yeah, cool pairing there. Got him. You got Romero, Otamendi, who I know is a bit of a punchline, but look, Otamendi's a good leader for them. So I just think Australia was. I did not expect them to stay that competitive.
Yeah, they definitely impressed, man. They definitely impressed. And they were a team where, yeah, they cut it to 2-1 on Argentina. Martinez should be the top goal scorer right now in the World Cup just off the amount of chances that he
Oh,
missed against
yeah,
Australia.
big letdown.
And look, man, you could get away with that. You get away with that when you're playing on Australia, but you better
Mhm.
capitalize on those chances against the Netherlands. And then if they get through that, you're probably going to play Brazil. No offense, Alan, though the Croatians
All
do
right,
have
well, we'll
something to
talk
say.
about that. We'll talk.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, we'll
yeah.
talk.
I like when you get fired up like that, dude. I do think that what you've seen so far, going back to how we opened up this conversation, the elite teams know that it's do or die now, and they're not messing around. In the group stage, you could get away with, you know what? It's the 75th minute. Let's not concede. Let's play a little more passive. Let's get the draw, or let's not give up more goals because of goal differential. And you even saw it, Argentina. They dropped that first game to Saudi Arabia, and then they've won three straight since then. But I think what you're seeing now is the elite teams know that there's no coming back from this. You have to capitalize on your opportunities. The elite teams have all advanced so far, and it's because you have the better talent. And there's no, we'll get them tomorrow like it is in the group stage. And that's why teams are jumping out to leads and then they're just playing passive. And what Brazil did today was just the Brazil that I envisioned. They were up 4-0 in the 35th minute, and then they were cruising the rest of the way. And talk about like having so much talent and like not being able to pick Like having so many things to pick from. Martinelli
Yes.
and Anthony are two of, I would say, probably the most formed players in their position, and they don't even start for Brazil. Like they started in the last game in the group stage when it didn't matter against Cameroon,
Mhm.
but it's like, dude, off the bench you get Jesus, you get Martinelli, you got like a team that could probably win the World Cup, and it's like, damn it, Brazil, I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous that you have
Yeah.
all that talent.
I and it's just like they're just a well-oiled machine because it's like pretty much the only position you could say, all right, they're maybe a little light in is fullback, but like what team is stacked at fullback? But like when you look at that attacking power, especially as you see now the tournament goes on, where it's just like you need depth. Like you just
Yeah.
need like those five subs are so useful, and Brazil has that. I think it's going to really benefit them going forward, just because they can make those changes. Even though losing Gabriel Jesus is I think a significant loss, they still have more than enough firepower to manage that. I just want to mention when it comes to we're talking about like the top teams and their decisiveness. Just want to quickly mention France, England before we talk about Croatia a little bit. Like France, England, you watch those games; they took the chances. Where it was Giroud, salute to him. I know some people don't like him, but leading top goal scorer all time for France definitely deserves to be praised. And that Mbappe finish, good God Almighty, he just picked a spot and said, "You're not safe." And we know how good of a tournament Shet he's been having. That goal by Mbappe, like I don't know if it's goal of the tournament, but I thought it was like just one of those signature moments where it's just like, yep, Mbappe's here and he's gonna be here for a long time.
Mbappe is probably going to go down as the best center forward of all time.
Is he a center forward though? I think he's just a forward because you utilize him on a left wing. Like I'm not sure where exactly he plays,
Good
but if
call.
you just want to say call it like an attacker, kind of like Messi's not really a center forward. He's just more inside forward, winger, like however you want to phrase it. I just call him attacker at this point. He plays whatever position he wants.
Nah, that's definitely fair because
Mhm.
there's not like Ronaldo's not a forward and he's broken all these records with goals and he's dropping 30, 40 goals a season. I mean, not anymore, but like all
Mhm.
the last couple of seasons, like Benzema's probably like a true number 9 center forward, but
Yes,
they have, I
Harry
mean,
Kane.
yeah, Harry Kane also. Mbappe is just absolutely ridiculous, dude. Like his pace is insane. His speed is unbelievable. I think he's the most dangerous player. I think he's the most of any player in the tournament, I would say, Allen, he's the guy that can wreck games the most. Like, there's not a player
Absolutely.
like him in the tournament right now, Mbappe, who 0-0 hasn't done nothing all game, can have that one breakaway run, or he takes on that one defender that gets a yellow card or a red card, or early on in the game, the speed just being so much for you to keep up. And he's burying everything that he's had one miss where he was even shocked, but it was when they were up four goals on Australia
Australia.
also.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like a crucial miss, but man, he's just unbelievable, dude. And he's only 23 years old and he's won a World Cup already. And he's gonna shatter the Giroud record eventually.
Yeah.
Like this dude
Yeah.
is gonna go down as one of like the greatest of all time.
He's on that trajectory, and it's like you watch that goal. It's like Poland defenders don't even want to go near him, and you see over the course of the tournament, like at this point, defenders just back off. They're like, we're scared of his pace so much, we're not trying to get exploded by it, because otherwise he's gonna probably put in the box, or he's gonna get put a shot goal or get a clean cross, because he has that target man Giroud, and then you always have Griezmann lurking in the background. I think Griezmann's quietly having a very good tournament. I know he's been kind of forgotten about, given that he's not had much club success, but France, they got that well-oiled machine, and they're kind of like 2018. They're crafted very nicely. They don't have quite the same midfield, but given how much Mbappe is like evolved as a player, France still looks like one of the scariest teams. And I think if I had to make a pick coming off that side, I think they're probably going to be in the final.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that, man. I also want to see what kind of 11 Southgate is gonna put out with England. Because I think
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
gonna be a banger of a game. Like the games potentially that we could get for the quarters. If like Portugal and Spain go through, you're gonna have some
I
bar
mean, we got
fights.
heavyweights. I
Yeah,
mean, no, we already got heavyweights. Netherlands, Argentina, heavyweights. England, France, heavyweights. And damn right, Croatia's a heavyweight,
let's go.
because this team, man, 3 penalty shootouts in the last 2 World Cups. The resilience, just how penalty shootouts. I only want to watch. Like this is me when I'm watching penalties today. I got the scarf over my mouth. I'm scared as hell because, like, 2018 was 102 degrees outside. I'm just like this. Now this year, this is my pose. Like I was nervous as hell, but yet, oh my god, like just what words I can even put into it. Just look, Dominic Livakovic, I've never highly rated as a keeper. I feel like he always plays nervous, but just the way he it just seems like he always anticipated where the Japanese player was going. And just having that weapon, even though he's not a great distributor, he doesn't really command the box a lot, but just having those pure instincts, those reactions, it's dangerous. Like he dominated that shootout, similar to Daniel Subasic in 2018, who pretty much carried Croatia when they beat Denmark in the round of 16. So man, it's definitely not pretty. This team's definitely nowhere near as good as 2018. But look, there's just this resolve with Croatia, and I think just having the battle tested players, I had a feeling at some point Perisic was going to pop up. He does it every tournament. Just when things look bleak, comes in with a header. As old as Modric is looking right now, and it is unfortunate, it looks like Father's time is getting to him. You still can't doubt him. I'm wearing my Marcelo Brozovic jersey today. Good Lord, what a shift. He broke his own record today, ran like 16.7 kilometers. He ran like 16.3 in a semifinal against England back in 2018. He ran even more today and then scored a beautiful penalty. Like, it's just they have these players that are battle tested, and just having that experience, it can't be doubted. So, uh, look, with Croatia, I know people say, okay, they've drawn two, they still struggle to score goals, but they are tough to break down. I know people bring up Lukaku, he should have scored. I'm not denying that. But this is a team that's not be tread lightly. We can talk about the midfield. They have someone Perisic who is lethal. I think Josko Gvardiol, besides Jude Bellingham, has been the best young player this tournament. Good Lord, he's going to be exceptional. Whoever wins the sweepstakes to buy him. But Chelsea, Real Madrid, they're going to enjoy him. And then, hey, man, credit down Lovren, who had the assist day. What a cross. And I've been very critical of Lovren as well. But just one of those experienced players, won Champions League with Liverpool, won a Premier League, and he delivered as well. So Croatia has this experience still. It's like they're a weird mix right now. It's like the upcoming generation and the ends of the golden generation. There's like nobody really in their prime outside of Kovacic and Brozovic. So it's like they're trying to figure out a way. And yes, it's not been pretty, but I thought they deserved today's win. And what a beautiful sigh of relief, because it was just crazy seeing Kovacic and Modric taken off in the 109th minute. I was like, I kind of get it, given that they're struggling to create chances, and it's just like just the whole structure of this World Cup, where there was no friendlies, no rest. It's like these players gotta be gassed. Like, and can you really expect a 37-year-old Modric to play 120 minutes? So I understood, even though it just felt weird seeing him actually taken off. But look, it paid off. The substitutes, Vlasic, all scored excellent penalties, and wow, Croatia in the quarterfinals. Just I can't wait for Friday.
Dude, that was a hell of a promo or a rant. I don't know what that was, but that was the most fired up I've ever seen you. Shout out to Croatia, man. Dude, battle tested
I'm
for
buzzing,
sure,
man.
right? Like how
Yeah.
many tournaments can you go and win like penalty kicks, right? It's definitely
Yes,
a
I don't
skill.
think it's sustainable, but look, it speaks volumes. Like I was praying Rakitic was going to show up. I was like, I need Rakitic to just come
Right.
off the plane right now, take the penalty. But credit to them, man. They even with this new generation, the players, I thought they were really composed. And look, I don't think they have much of a chance against Brazil, but if they take an extra time, man. Hey, all bets are off.
Dude, I can't wait because now you're gonna start seeing like more and more quality games. You're gonna start seeing the world class of soccer is what you're gonna see the rest of the way. And regardless of what happens in the games tomorrow or today, depending on when you're listening, you're gonna start seeing like the reason why so many people tune into these games during the World Cup. And I mean, I don't want to look too far ahead, and I don't want to like bury you because I know you are Croatian and I do have a soft spot for them because of you. But like the idea of like an Argentina, Brazil, and then a Portugal,
Absolutely.
France is like, or France, Spain, England, Spain. Like, dude, you're talking about like the elite of the elite. And the way it's shaping up
Mhm.
kind of is like the South American side of the bracket versus the Euro side of the bracket. To really have a World Cup winner where it's like you have the cream of the crop from South America and then from Europe is pretty unique also, dude. It's pretty unique. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm excited for that cuz for the most part based on the betting markets also, if it does go chalk, you're going to have a South American team versus a European team to really establish the winner of the World Cup, which are the two best regions of the world when it comes to soccer. I'm
Well
pumped.
said.
I know you're pumped. I do want to end with a little bit of a football take. Uh, I want to just ask you first how you feel about what happened to the Niners and Jimmy G. I had my say to open up the show while we were waiting for you to come on, but I do want to get your just thoughts on like what went down, man.
It's hugely unfortunate because I think Garoppolo has been playing his best football for years. Like I think he's actually found comfortability in the offense. Look, Kyle Shanahan's offense is very quarterback friendly, but I thought Garoppolo over the past few weeks, particularly that Cardinals Monday night game, has played some tremendous football. But look, they still have the firepower. I think just those four: Debo, Kittle, McCaffrey, Ayuk. Like there's so much opportunity there for big plays, so much yak opportunity. So whether it's Brock Purdy or maybe they take a chance on Baker Mayfield, although I can't envision Shanahan wanting to tolerate Baker Mayfield, wherever the quarterback may be. At least they're in a really quarterback friendly system. And you have a defense that in most games, they're not going to allow more than 17 points. And I think in today's day and age of football, if you could put your team in a position where they don't have to score 20 points, you take that any day of the week. So even though they lost Garoppolo, this doesn't really, to me, damage the Niners' Super Bowl hopes. I still think they're a top 3 team in the NFC. It's just a matter of finding some comfortability with the offense, like making sure whoever the quarterback may be, just build rapport with the receivers. Because at some point, you're going to have to make some big time throws, and you're going to have to play Micah Parsons, and you're going to have to play that Eagles front line. And it's just like, okay, that's where the play's going to be made. Because at some point, you can't just solely rely on the defensive playmakers. You got to make a couple of throws. And Garoppolo did a decent job for the most part. So it's a drop off, but anyone that thinks the Niners are done, no way. Like this team's going to be competing late January, potentially even early February.
I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but also like the idea of now Purdy coming in, a third string quarterback, to have to navigate the ship. I think it's asking a lot. I hope you're right, because I do like a lot of guys on the Niners, and I do like the San Francisco 49ers to come out the NFC. Hell, my pockets also would like that to be the case as well. But I think it's a
Wait, hold on. Didn't you have Eagles Vikings?
yeah, I had that in the beginning.
Oh,
But I'm
okay.
talking about like bets that I make. Like you get new information as the season goes on, right? So like
Right.
after week 8, right before they get CMC, it's like, yeah, I think the Niners are a team that's been there, done that with Jimmy G. This is the best team. I agree with you. He was playing the best football that he's played, but also this is the best team that they've had. Like all these weapons are out of control. And you had like Elijah Mitchell coming back. I know he got hurt again. But for the most part, if that team could stay healthy, which was the knock on the Niners, can that team stay healthy? And we saw that the one guy that was probably irreplaceable is the one that went down for as much shit as he kept getting all these years. And, I was talking about that before you joined. So I don't want to, kind of repeat that. But I do want to end the show with the Bengals and Joe Burrow. Dude, they're not intimidated by Kansas City at all. They're in Kansas City, in Cincinnati. They want all the smoke. Jamar Chase was doing the make it rain thing on Reed because he was yapping before that game coming up. And, man, when they're fully healthy, bro, and they didn't even have Mixon yesterday, and I think Joe Burrow is now everyone's talking about him being in the MVP conversation. And not that I disagree with it, but I'm not going to say like he's the MVP right now. But, man, having that guy, bro, like as long as you have that guy and the belief that they have in Joe Burrow, they're going to be a problem for whoever they play, wherever they play.
Exactly. And look, they could win on the road. We saw last year in the playoffs.
Right.
So, and I just think given how organized their defense is, getting DJ Reader back, the big nose tackle, I thought made a huge difference. They're pretty complete. Like, even though they're not, we always talk about the Bengals don't have many stars defensively, but they don't make mistakes. They get their tackles. They don't have coverage breakdowns. They always seem to be in the right position. And then you have Trey Hendrickson get a sack, or you get Jesse Bates breaking up a pass. Like, they just make those timely plays. And look, offensively, personnel-wise, they're among the most terrifying offenses in the league. And let's not forget, Tyler Boyd dropped a wide open touchdown. If he catches that pass, like, they probably win by more. So, in fact, they don't have Mixon, who's been playing much better. And now the offensive line is, for the past month, I think, starting to understand, like, okay, we know how to pick up stunts. Now we know how to block properly, get those combo blocks. Like, they just seem like, okay, the first 2 months was a bit of a trial and error. Now everything's coalescing nicely. And, yeah, I think third best team in the AFC. You can make even a case maybe they're even better than Buffalo. I still think Kansas City is the top team, but man, Cincinnati, we both said it. Like, this team got better in the offseason. There's no way they're going to fall off just because they made the Super Bowl. Okay, their winning was a little bit dicey, but this team is still super talented. They're so young. And I do think they're well coached, as much as Zach Taylor is frustrating. We all love Big Lou. So, yeah, no, Bengals, we always been high on them, and there's no reason not to be. Like, this team is here to stay.
And there was a moment when Zach Taylor, after Jamar Chase does this thing, that he goes up to him and he's like, dude, what are you doing? We just got a penalty now. Like, chill.
Oh
And he
yeah,
was like, yo, my bad, my bad. And he apologized
right.
after the game. He's like, yo, I let my emotions get the best of me. Thank God it didn't cost us.
First game back.
First game back, yeah. And like, dude, I mean, talk about excitement level. Like that guy is just unbelievable. The catch that he made, the Jordan logo catch, and it wasn't a catch because he stepped out of bounds, but still, that guy is so dynamic. The thing about Cincinnati that you mentioned, and it's so true, is the offensive line. Like they brought all these new pieces in, and they were all good signings. It just takes a while for your offensive line and the continuity of it to mesh. That's why in the beginning of the season they look so bad. Micah Parsons, that was a game that kind of made me say, yo, he's the best offensive player in the league. And then you had what TJ Watt did to them also in week 1, where I think Pittsburgh had 5 turnovers in that game. They've had, I think, 6 turnovers since. And that was
Yeah.
12 games ago, right? So
Right.
to me, it takes time for your offensive line. Dude, it was the same shit that happened last year, Allen, with Kansas City. The first like 7 or 8 games, Kansas City was 4-3, 4-4. And then I came on the show and I was saying, yo, there's a path for Mahomes to maybe they run the table. I see them losing 1 game, bet him to win MVP. He didn't win MVP, but he was a preseason MVP favorite. And then he's 25-1. And then they ended up losing only 1 game. And a lot of that had to do with the offensive line getting better. And Cincinnati was a team who they make all these additions on the offensive line. It just takes time, bro. It takes time. And now you're seeing, that was the big takeaway for me, is that the last couple of weeks, this offensive line stepped up. And Joe Burrow is, the comp to him has been that like Brady aura, Brady swag. And I think he has every bit of it and some.
Yeah. And he commands the locker room. Such a hell of a leader. Like that third down conversion to seal the game. Because the previous
Yeah.
play was so frustrating. He had to take the sack. And then he said, nope, I'm going to go across the middle of T. Higgins, thread the needle. We're ending it here. They're not getting the ball back. So, yeah.
I love that
Bengals
too,
are,
dude. I
they're
love that
must-see.
because like Minnesota, and we'll end with this. Minnesota had a situation where they make that 4th down stop on the 1 yard line against the Jets. And I know it's on the 1 yard line. You're playing a little more conservative. I get that. But also just like not one attempt to Jefferson or Thielen. Like you're just saying we're gonna run this out and defense make another stand. But Burrow and the Bengals are like, nah, son, y'all not getting this ball back because we've seen what number 15 could do with 13 seconds on the clock. Nah, not this time. Like it's a wrap.
Yeah.
We're gonna go out there. We're gonna be aggressive. We're gonna pick up the first down, and then it's night. See you later. That's what the social team for Cincinnati put up. See you later. Which I don't know, bro. Might be one of those don't age
You're
too
hurting
well.
feelings. But then you also bring up 13 seconds, man. Bill fans listen to this. Oh, they're going to be hurt by that. They don't want to hear anything about 13 seconds ever again.
Listen, the Bills fans got a lot more they got to worry about than just that, because I think that team is seriously flawed. And I've expressed my concerns for Bills Mafia, but we'll save that for another conversation. Alan, we do need to wrap up. I'm happy for you in Croatia. In what you told me years ago when the Giants made the playoffs, and you text me and you said, "Dude, how you feeling?" And I was just sending you 2 straight paragraphs of negativity. You're like, "Dude, enough. Embrace this. Your team doesn't make the playoffs every year. Who knows when this is going to happen again for Croatia? This run of the last couple of tournaments." So I'm pulling for them. If they could shock the world once again, that'd be pretty sweet. I know you'd be hyped up, but I appreciate you calling in, man, and coming on the show as always.
Thank you. I definitely wanted to do this. And oof, man, this is the beauty of the World Cup, man. It just brings people together and just it raises your heart levels. And it's just the anticipation. Like, you can't wait. Like, you just see the commercials. So, yeah, quarterfinals. We're guaranteed to get. We got 3 heavyweight matchups. Hopefully, we get one more tomorrow. So I love the Swiss and the Moroccans. Great story, but look, people want to see the heavyweights.
We
So
want to see quality.
get it.
Yeah. We want to see
Yeah.
quality. Where can they find you on social?
Alan Stirk, ALLENSTRK. Hopefully, the Falcons are making a quarterback change so I can write about
Let's go. You're done with Mariota, huh?
it. I mean, I think the whole organization's done, Mariota.
You got to see what's good with Ritter. Yeah, I feel you.
Yes.
At Nick Day is 10 as you can find me. At Veterans Minimum as you can find all things for the show. Subscribe to the YouTube channel to watch the podcast on there. And we will catch you guys later this week with some UFC, some more NFL, and some NBA. Do a first quarter of the season wrap up. Catch you guys next time.